The Lynn Ruffin Smith Charitable Foundation thanks our veterans and supports Vega's PBS programs reflecting the sacrifice of Vietnam veterans and their families.
The war in Vietnam is a combined and joint effort. The man who is there, soldier, sailor, Marine, or airman, American, Korean, South Vietnamese, Australian or New Zealander, already knows this well.
I was drafted, I was 20 years old. I was drafted December 22nd, 1966.
I went in right after high school, right after I graduated, and I mean like maybe 2 weeks after graduation.
I was in Cleveland, Ohio. I was drafted about 9 months after I graduated from high school.
I went through ROTC in college, got a commission when I graduated, and went into the Air Force as a second lieutenant.
I was 19 years old when I got my draft notice. The notices were coming out and my number was up.
That time I was a young man, single, kind of, I would say gung-ho, and I wanted to be part of the service members that served in the conflict group.
I got drafted, and 2 weeks after my draft notice, they had a cancellation in '69, and I talked to my dad about it, whether or not I should just give it up, and we went down to the Air Force recruiter and found out I was going to get drafted again in September, so I signed up for the Air Force.
For those who were there, this could be from any one of a dozen campaigns in the Pacific. Here's a shot of men and tanks moving out together to close with the enemy.
They didn't want me to go because of the Vietnam situation. They didn't, it was a time of turmoil.
I wanted to travel and see the world.
Wasn't really into it. I was more of the San Francisco party animal.
Everyone who knew me knew I was going, through ROTC and was going into service.
Everybody in our neighborhood went into the military. It was just something that you did, so everybody felt that was part of life.
Be part of the service members that believing in supporting our government.
I was scared. Honestly scared.
Time came, I said, I'm gone. Might as well go, so I went through every branch.
I was looking for adventure and, and action and all that, like an 18-year-old kid. Not really, understanding how far that might go.
Being in war, I figured or assumed I would eventually go across the pond there, but just part of the job, I never really thought about it in a negative way.
After getting a draft notice, I figured that was about the end of it for me. I was going to end up out in the jungle, and that would probably be the last of me.
If we were at war, I was going to be part of it, and help fight the war and support the country, and whatever endeavor we got involved in. Not really thinking about what's the right or wrong of it at all,
No serviceman who has had to fight through Vietnam's monsoons will ever believe there was anything like it in any other war at any time. But most of all, to the men who are there, the distinctively urgent facts about Vietnam are the kind of war the enemy is fighting, and the special problems of the people.
My first days in basic training were basically hell on wheels.
It was scary. I was 19 years old. The first thing they did was they took us in and shaved our heads.
They lined us, after we got out of the bus, they lined us up in front of the barracks and said, all you fur-bearing animals, get in there and get that crap off your face.
I remember my first instinct is I want to challenge him, but I was smarter than that. I wasn't going to do that.
We had inspections quite often. And this one time, the DI came through and looked at ours while we were outside doing maneuvers, whatever it was at the time. But he came through, inspected our lockers. He told us to grab our foot lockers, open them up, turn everything upside down. And he told us that we were going to have an inspection in an hour. And that was a mad scramble to get all your stuff, which was mixed in with other guys' stuff, all into one foot locker and get it back upstairs and get ready for inspection.
So I wasn't, used to getting coached and yelled at, but not to that extent.
One drill sergeant actually got demoted. He made his troops crawl around the cinder track. So they all ended up in the hospital because the arms were all cut up.
They have to break you down to make you as one so that everybody makes it a unit.
I knew I was going to make it through it, one way or the other. I had to make it through, at least through the Air Force, because I was grateful not to have to be drafted into the Army.
If you set your mind to it and not let them win and just kind of work yourself through it, you'll do well.
That's one place I'd never want to go back.
Every man must take with him into combat the certain knowledge that he has the inherent right always to defend himself against hostile action wherever and whenever it occurs.
I volunteered to go to a classified installation near the town of Dalat. And so our job was to defend this place, and we had a perimeter around it, and so we were dug in on the perimeter and bunkers and such, and tried to keep the Viet Cong from getting into place. And they were forever trying to get in there, and either bombing it or trying to hit the perimeter, or convoys going in and out of the place.
The first day I was out in the field, we got into a firefight. And I think I was 19, I guess. I didn't know, I would live forever, and we just reacted. We went into the village. Probably the first time I saw a couple of dead bodies, and that was, after a while, you get numb to it. You don't pay attention to it.
I had to fly cap for a river convoy, a bunch of ships with supplies and all this for the Cambodian troops. Usually we hated those missions. They were very boring. Nothing ever happened. You just bored holes in the sky for 4 or 5 hours, got replaced, and went back. And on this particular one, all heck broke loose.
Suspects he is changing course.
They were ambushed from the side of the river. We're getting really shot up. My aircraft was armed. I had machine guns and rocket pods and small armament, but I started strafing and called a tactical emergency, got fighters diverted. The leader of it kind of panicked and was bottlenecking the river, so the whole convoy was stopped. You don't want to do that when guys are shooting at you from the side. You want to move.
Warden X-ray, A1, this is Warden X-ray.
Yelled at him, got him going, and it was just, from there on, it was just constant airstrike after airstrike after airstrike. We got the convoy through with one boat was damaged, one guy was wounded, no losses.
The slips in Da Nang are too shallow for the big ships. They had to take us off the landing crafts. The second landing craft out, we lost 3 guys. We hadn't had boot on ground 1. We lost 3 guys. And that puts the fear of God into your tush real quick. We're supposed to be in a secure area, and yet, they're very clever in what they do. I just prayed to God that, you know, it was going to be them, and I can go home. And it was kind of earth-shattering.
My cousin had given me a .32 semi-automatic pistol, and I cut a hole in the book and put the pistol in there because I knew, talking to other people ahead of time, that once you land in Vietnam, you don't have any weapons. And there were cases where they shot the bus up. At least I could defend myself as best I could, I thought, at 19. The major action that I saw was during the Tet Offensive, and we were nearly overrun. Fortunately, the Australians had come in and moved into that area, which really surprised the Viet Cong, and they were there to help us out.
I couldn't imagine being out in the field. I mean, we had an incoming coming in, I was scared. So I can't imagine what those guys went through.
The base was under mortar attack and rocket fire all the time. Oftentimes get into it with infiltrators trying to blow their way through the wire, you know, and so we would shoot it out with them, you know, back and forth. And sometimes, you know, you'd go for weeks and there nothing would happen. You know, and then one night everything would happen. It got pretty miserable, dug in out there. Really miserable, you know. But, you know, hey, that was the job. That's what we were there to do.
Stress and the pressure was actually people trying to kill you. I was out on patrol. We were on patrol all night, laying in a rice paddy on the berm. And that's very, very stressful. We were checking out a base camp, and we got attacked. I got wounded in the back with from a hand grenade. It was shrapnel. And a little piece is still in me. I was only in the hospital 2 days. They stitched me up, and they told me to take a week to recuperate in base camp, and then I was back out.
During Tet Offensive, 1968, we had a rocket hit in our barracks area. I was asleep. I remember hearing a loud bang. And till today, I can still remember, I was seeing myself flying through the air like Superman. It was nothing but gray, brown smoke from the explosion, and everyone running from the barracks to the bunkers.
Tet Offensive started, which is what it became known as. We started off as just a New Year's, you know, it was their New Year's. And so we were there in town, and, you know, firecrackers were going off, and everybody was, you know, having a good time and was joyous. And so it went on late into the night. And then all of a sudden these firecrackers started, you know, we started hearing these explosions loud, and then there was automatic gunfire. And then Viet Cong troops were rampaging all through the city. It was like a storm of bullets. By morning, the town was occupied. There was no way out. Well, our orders were just hold, stand and hold, you know, and like I said, we had a very small detachment there. And so we had to deal with it. And that went on for a month. Ran out of food, low on water, waiting for, you know, reinforcements or backup. We were told to try and minimize contact with the enemy troops because we couldn't sustain a long, drawn-out battle. I mean, we'd be out of ammo in like half an hour. So it was hit and run stuff, you know, and it was pretty intense. One day on the rooftops of one of the buildings there in Dalat, I looked out and saw hundreds of combat troops moving up one of the streets, South Korean Rangers. I went over to the officer that was there, and I asked him, I said, do you think we're ever going to get out of here? Do you think we'll live through this? And he looked at me and said, I don't think so. The idea is just to stay alive. Do what you have to do. Stay alive, do your job, you know, and stay alive and hope and pray for the best. You know, it doesn't really, sometimes that stuff doesn't really hit you until it's over. I didn't feel like I had actually got out of that place until I was on a helicopter being evacuated from that place.
The day before I was to leave, they were flying me from Phan Rang to Cam Ranh Bay. And during the monsoon season, they usually fly along the coast and come back into Cam Ranh Bay. So it was like pea soup fog outside of the windows. You really couldn't see anything. And then we started a slow descent. The gentleman, the other survivor of the plane crash, was sitting next to me in the rear of the plane, and he got up to look out the window. This particular pilot decided to take a shortcut over the mountains, and we didn't quite make it. He flew us into the side of the mountain. And we crashed. 44 people aboard, and only 2 of us lived to tell about it. Myself and a gentleman by the name of Vincent Fairbrother. The next thing I know, I woke up and I was still strapped in my seat, and the plane was gone, and all I could see were trees and the side of a mountain. I unstrapped myself, found out my left leg was broken, tried to lower myself out of the plane into the mud, and we spent 5 days on the side of the mountain before they found us. After probably the second day, I could hear and see people walking around, and it was just all part of my mind playing tricks on me. Then on the 5th day, I was face down in the mud, and I heard somebody say, "You American GI?" And I looked up, and there was a rifle barrel in my face. And I just laid my face back down in the mud and figured this was the end. They managed to flip me over, got my name, radioed it in, and that I was a survivor.
I would never go back. I don't know how these people, when they say they go back, and I don't want to go back. I did it once, and even my grandkids say, you know, what do you think? And I say, well, I just log it down. It was an experience. That's all I say.
I was told, don't go out in your uniform once you're in the civilian population. And we weren't treated very nice at all.
There's nobody greeting us. There was nobody.
Calling us, you know, baby killers and whatever. You know, some of the guys were on crutches and had bandages and I mean, you could see it in everybody's eyes, like, what the hell is going on? You know, why? What is this, you know?
They just drop you off at Travis and see ya, goodbye. And couldn't even get a cab ride home. I had a cab driver give me the finger. You know, I'm trying to wave a cab. I'm in Kansas City to go home. And you.
I figured, hey, I did my bid for my country. I served, and people should be grateful, not cursing at us.
You know, when I came home and I was done with the service, I just wanted to forget everything about Vietnam. They say it's not a popular war, but I don't know what war is popular.
Drove a lot of people over the edge. Drove me crazy. I mean, it was just nuts.
When I got home, I just didn't really think about much of anything. Except as I get older, I see the soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I just don't like to see that.
To me, I don't know why I even went, you know, but it wasn't my choice. All the decisions that everybody made, I lucked out, plain English.
I can't think anybody in their right mind that would like war or want to go to war.
Wars are fought with young men. And the first rule of warfare is young men die.
Like I told you, I've always respected those guys that went in the field. My regret and why I'm probably so quiet, because I didn't give enough. I should have done more to help those guys.
American people, as a country, we got to understand that when you send troops off to fight a war or send troops off anywhere, to be on station anywhere to do their job, you always welcome them home, man. You know, I mean, they're our troops, you know, and they put their lives on the line. It's really important to show that you care.
We have 58,000 American lives that are not here because of the Vietnam War. They are the real heroes of that war. And believe me, it was a war. I don't want to call it anything else.
When I first got to Vegas, I didn't realize that there was a Vietnam Veterans Organization. Other than for a while, I'd drive past a building here and I couldn't figure out what this Vietnam sign was, and I stopped in. A friend of mine, he kept telling me I have PTSD, and I'm telling him to blow it up. And lo and behold, I found out I got PTSD real bad, and I thought that was me. And I take medication, try being calm about things and everything. This chapter I try instilling in to help your veterans. It doesn't matter how old they are, branch of service. It's my responsibility to go out and help as many people as I can.
So our motto at the national level is that one veteran will never abandon another veteran. When we came home, we felt like not only were we abandoned by the community, but by our fellow veterans as well. You would try and go into the VFWs, the American Legions, the Purple Hearts, and initially it was like you were competing with their stories, which a lot of us didn't want to go back and relive our situations. I personally didn't.
You don't let anybody stand alone. Any veteran, doesn't matter what situation that person is, he's always welcome. He's a brother.
And we feel that as long as we're there looking after our own groups and mentoring our new vets coming back, that we've accomplished what we set out to do.
I'm out to really help make sure that other people know that there's a Vietnam Veterans Organization to help them.
I got probably more involved than I thought I ever would be, but it's very fulfilling when you have somebody who turns around and says, thank you for working with me to get me involved. Nothing else, just to have somebody to talk to and vent. And then there's the others that need help, didn't know how to go about it. Not only do we look and try and bring our Vietnam vets at this late age in their life aware that there is benefits that they're entitled to, and we help them go through it. We give presentations on what it entails, what are some of the symptoms of the diseases, how they can do their own claims, who they can contact when they need assistance, how it impacts their children and your grandchildren. A lot of the vets are not aware of this.
While overseas, I've heard enough people to do a cookbook, but this is my karma. I'm out to help anybody and everybody.
Someday we're going to be those people that we're talking about right now. And if we don't take the time now to mentor our new vets that are coming back, who's going to take care of us?
The Lynn Ruffin Smith Charitable Foundation thanks our veterans and supports Vega's PBS programs reflecting the sacrifice of Vietnam veterans and their families.